Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 4 Design Tips to Improve Your Online Customer Engagement webinar. If you're here to learn how to improve your online customer engagement and get more clicks on your social posts with your ad design, you are in the right place. I'm going to give people another minute to get logged on, and then we'll get started. As we dive in here, I do just want to let you know, for the sake of time, I won't be answering any questions during the webinar. Feel free to post any questions that you do have in the comment section below, or you can email them to me directly. I'll put up my email address for you guys at the end, and I will do my best to answer any questions that may come up as quickly as I can. So before we get started, I want to give you all a brief overview about JNL marketing for anybody that may not be familiar already. We've been around for almost 30 years in the automotive space. We help dealers across the tiers 1, 2, and 3 levels for digital and direct marketing solutions. We're proud to be Google partners as well as Microsoft ad partners, and we've recently become digital vendors for Shell and Mopar. We're very excited about today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us, and let's get started. So a quick list of what we'll be going over this afternoon. We're going to be talking about having an image for your inventory. Not all platforms are created equal. Keep it simple and be interesting and engaging. So what do people like to look at? The basics of this webinar are to improve the way you approach your ad design, to increase your customer engagement and your site traffic. I might mention a few things that you already know, but I'm also going to talk about a few things that most people overlook the importance of. So we're going to go over what makes people stop and look at your ads, what makes them actually want to interact with them, and all of that fun stuff. Let's get started. So tip number 1, this one might seem a little obvious, but it's very important and definitely worth mentioning. Have an image for your inventory. So sometimes ads are created directly from your inventory images, and it's not only about making sure that you have an image, but making sure that you have a quality image. Many times for your ads, because you're using the same image from your website's inventory, if your image is low resolution, has poor lighting, or a bad angle, people aren't going to click on it. So you need a clear and relevant image. Consistency is also important. In inventory images and in ad design, it only takes one bad shot to give people a bad impression of your brand. So what you want to avoid: bad lighting, too much shadow, light glares, blurry images, cutting off a significant portion of your image, and not having an image at all. You definitely want to make sure you have something there to get people to click through and find out more information. What you want to look for: good lighting, you want it to be bright, you want your images to be true to color, no shadows covering your vehicles, you want clear images, show the full vehicle, and a consistent angle and image cropping across the board. Tip number 2, not all platforms are created equal. So when you're doing ad design, you always want to remember that you'll be using your design across multiple platforms. So for multiple posts, there will be size differences, whether it's for an ad, for your cover image, for your profile. You might have to make multiple sizes of the same ad. I'm going to use one of our in-house brands as an example here. So these are some images I've made for our company's podcast, Move, Crush, Count. I've created a number of sizes, and you can see that they all have the same basic design layout, but they've been tailored to fit different platforms. Another option is to create slightly different images to make them fit as long as they stay consistent with your brand, which is what we've done across our social media here. So you can see our Facebook header image. If we were to try to just use that same image for a Facebook post, it wouldn't work because those parameters are different. So instead, we use our podcast album cover image because it fits the post size parameters and it's still consistent with our brand overall. We also have a slightly different yet consistent image for our Instagram profile and our podcast homepage. So we technically have 4 different images here, but when you look at them, they're all recognizable as being the same brand and they're consistent with each other. You also want to keep mobile in mind. So referring back to the 2 examples I showed on the first page of this tip, you can see what's called the mobile safe area. A lot of your customers will be using their phones to look at your ads and your websites or your various pages. So you want to make sure that your ads show up and look just as good on the phone screen as they do on your computer screen. Tip number 3, keep it simple. People don't want to be overloaded with information in an ad. They want it to get to the point, they want it to be interesting to look at, and they want it to be relatable. So if you put every little bit of information on your ad, why would they need to click on it? You've already told them everything and they can just move on with their day. So you want to give them just enough information to keep them interested and make them want to click through on your ad and find out more. You want to keep this in mind with hashtags and alt tags as well. Hashtags are a great way to boost clicks on social media, and it's important to have them, but you just have to make sure that you find the sweet spot of not too many, not too few, keeping them creative and keeping them relevant. So you have to be strategic here. You have to find the balance of hashtags that are common and hashtags that are unique. So for example, if you use a common hashtag like auto dealer, you can see in this set of images, that takes you to a page that has 57,000 posts from a lot of different people. So you still need some of these, and it is relevant, and people will find you on there, and it's part of what you're promoting. But you need to also throw in some unique ones that are more tailored to you. So here's an example of that. We use the hashtag MoveCrushCount. It's not just the name of our podcast, it's also been part of the JNL brand for years. So when you click on that hashtag, it takes you to a page with just a little over 300 posts, and if you look, every single one of them have something to do with JNL marketing. So by doing this, you're creating a more focused conversation with your audience. When you use the combination of common hashtags and unique ones, it will widely expand your exposure. So your common hashtags are relevant and they're useful, but you can sometimes get lost in a sea of others using it. And your more unique focused hashtags are also relevant, useful, and drive traffic directly to you. So you need to have a good combination of the two. So to review, for your simple ad tips, you want them to be relevant, unique, and have just the right amount of tags, and you will have your perfect ad utopia. So tip number 4, this is where we can have a little more fun. Be interesting and be engaging. You want to be visual. Sometimes just posting text and an image of a car doesn't quite cut it. So don't get me wrong, you do need this sometimes. You have to get your inventory seen. However, you also need to spice it up sometimes. If it's serving to someone who gets car ads all the time, serving ads like this over and over can become basically the visual equivalent of white noise. So you can see here how all of these look very similar. I have asked a few people, did a little poll, and asked if they frequently got a lot of ads for one type of company or service or product. Almost all of them said yes, and when I asked, do they typically look very similar to each other, they almost all said, oh, I don't really know, I've stopped paying attention. So you don't want that to be said about your ads. One way to combat this is to use something that may not even directly relate to cars at all. It's very important to know your audience. You're not just connecting with car buyers, you're connecting with people. So when you use images that are bright, they stand out to the viewer, and they provoke some kind of emotion or connection, you have a much higher likelihood of keeping your audience engaged and getting more clicks. Here are a few examples of ads that I created that are targeted to car dealers that are also people who like Marvel or DC or Star Wars. This is a good example of tailoring it to your audience. You're getting your message across and talking about what you're trying to promote to them, but you're doing it in a way that is more interesting and keeps them engaged. Another way to relate better is to connect with your audience and be conversational. You don't want to be over the top about it. You want to use something simple and attention-grabbing, maybe asking a question that makes them think. People are by nature curious, so when you ask them a question, it'll make them think about you, about your brand, and about what their answer is, or if you can answer that for them. Here are some good examples of ads that we've created that pose questions to our viewers. So, do you know how to exploit your competitors' weaknesses? Do you want to double or triple your sales? Are you stuck? these are things that will get people thinking and make them want to continue looking at your brand. You may have noticed that I actually did this in my email and video ad to tell you about this webinar. I asked you questions that you wanted to know the answers to, and here you are, finding out your answers. So I've thrown a lot of information at you guys, and something that might help you remember these key points is to break it down into what I'm going to call the 3 C's. You want to be creative. That's your being unique, demanding your audience's attention. You want to be concise. You're keeping it simple. You're relevant and you're to the point. And you want to keep it conversational. Know your audience, be relatable, and ask questions. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope this has been helpful for you all. Please feel free to email me if you have any further questions regarding your ad designs, and have a great day.